everybody, this is Caitlin and you are watching Zombie Eats Books. So I have some books in March that I read that I want to talk about. I'm probably going to talk about the first 3 or 4 that I read in this video and then film an additional video to talk about the rest. So this first book that I read was There by Tommy Orange. This was a great book. It's been really hyped on BookTube, and I think that for the most part it lived up to it for me. I didn't absolutely fall in love with it, I think the way that a lot of people did, but I think it was a great book overall. One thing that I really liked about it was the narrative style. So the narrative is split into multi-perspectives, so there are a lot of different characters in here that you get to hear from. Some of those characters you get to hear from more than once, and then some of them are just one and done. I'm sorry if I seem short of breath. It's because I'm like 3 weeks from delivery, so I don't have a lot of room where my lungs used to be. There's baby there right now. Anyway, so the narrative for the most part I think really worked in its style. There was one narrative that I didn't really get just because I didn't think that it fit with the others. I didn't think that it was necessary, but it didn't take anything away either. All of the narratives culminate into a powwow event in California at the end. It's about identity and it's about trauma. It kind of reminded me of Homegoing in that way, in the passing down of trauma from previous generations due to horrible things in the past. In the case of Homegoing, slavery and racism. In the case of this book, racism obviously still, but you know, attempted genocide, the attempt to wipe out an entire culture. Overall, I think this is a great book, certainly a great debut novel, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I read was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This was another one that was really hyped on BookTube. I don't think this one lived up to the hype as well as There did, just because the first half I thought was pretty boring. The character of Patroclus in particular I thought was just sort of boring because he's more of this observer of life, not someone that participates, and you're really looking through his eyes at more interesting characters for the most part, which reminded me of The Great Gatsby, which I don't love either. I'm probably gonna get some hateful comments down below for that. At the halfway point, however, I feel like this book picks up a lot. It's a point where Patroclus and Achilles start to make decisions that make their characters very interesting. And, you know, Patroclus actually has some agency and does things rather than watching other people do things. So I liked that a lot. I liked the conflicts that came with that, and I ended up being very emotional towards the end of this book. I don't think it quite deserves a 4 stars. At first I rated it 4 stars, and I need to stop rating books right after I finish them because I think I'm, you know, it's too soon. I need to wait for a couple of days and think about a book before I rate it. I ended up going back and rating it 3 stars. I think it is a good book. It's just a little bit uneven in its pace, and like I said, I thought that if she had taken a different approach with Patroclus or told it from somebody else's perspective, maybe I would have liked it a lot better. And I just wanted to quickly also mention that I read Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney. I've read her 2 novels, which I absolutely love. I love her style of writing. I love her themes. And I love how readable everything that she writes is. And this is no exception. It's just very short, and I wish it had been longer. Same kind of short story as her novels are. It's about a couple of people who are drawn together, but perhaps they shouldn't be together. You have to kind of decide whether or not they're toxic for each other or whether or not they're really good for each other, what they bring out in each other, and what they don't say to each other, and how that affects their relationship, the things unsaid, which I feel pretty much wraps up her kind of writing. So I think I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I just wanted more of it. I just want a full-length novel about it. That's all. So last but not least, I also read Room by Emma Donahue. This was my book club's pick of the month, and I kind of wish that I had read it at a different time, just because being pregnant and having a lot of emotions about kids and babies and things, I just sort of automatically distanced myself from this book because I didn't want to be devastated. So I kind of read this in a detached way from the very start, which is difficult because it's written really well from a 5-year-old's point of view. And I thought the narrative was great. I just didn't emotionally connect with it in the way that I expected to, or maybe in the way that I expected to because I didn't want to emotionally connect with it. Yeah, this is about trauma. It's about survival. I'm not going to tell you much more than that, just because I think this is one of those books that you should go into without knowing very much. I thought that the mother in this book was a very strong and sympathetic character, and so was the little boy. I think the capacity of humans to endure things that are horrible are really well written about here. And even as I'm talking about this, I know it's a great book, but I rated it 3 out of 5 stars just because of the circumstances under which I read it and my resulting experience, I guess. So I need to read this again at a different time when I'm not like 9 months pregnant. 3 out of 5 stars. Thank you so much for watching. I will get to the other books that I read in March soon. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought about them, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.